Dan Lutz, and I am here with my co-host,
DANK.
and we're here on the front lines in the battle against the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminonkeys, and all those that wish to enslave all of humanity for their own selfish reasons. How's it going, Tank? I thought we weren't going to miss you today.
No. I'm here. I was my new boss, Shenanigans. My daughter working diligently trying to get videos edited that shows at least my shot last night. Also with my daughter, she wants to get some platinum thing with YouTube, 100,000 followers. So she's all over me to create videos.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
But she's home, so she's got time. So she's with me 24/7 pretty much. So I've been working all day. She's quite the taskmaster.
Slave driver. I got it.
Yeah, but I appreciate it. It's priceless, right?
Of course. Yeah. In that case, it's completely voluntary servitude.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't have a report from Kim.
Okay, that's the end of the show for today. I think everyone for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not really expecting. I'm not really expecting a report. Though I was gonna say that I've had our friends in England saying, "Hey, we should go that direction." So I said,
"Oh, go that direction." Oh, they're catching on now.
Yeah, well, if American banks are having some problems, hey, they're ready.
Yeah, no, look, I've brought it up. Obviously Kim has things that are working. I would say this. I rethought it a little bit, and this is just my theory on this is that when President Trump came out yesterday, or was it yesterday? Or I think it was yesterday, right? He talked about what a great job Bank of America was doing, right?
Yeah.
So
and Chase.
You got to think
and
now.
Chase.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Today he said,
now.
yeah. He mentioned both of them today.
So now, I've never seen him mention a bank really in his tweets. Now, I'm not saying he has. I don't recall. Nothing that ever stood out to me. But in this case, if those are the two banks, now those are the two banks that most recently Kim transferred money to, and they basically pulled it back, right?
Mm-hmm.
She had to pull the money back because they didn't honor the transfer to the trust, right? And I think I mentioned this yesterday is that one of the things that the trust or the Treasury said, is that do you think that Kim will pay us even though we don't pay the fee back to the trust, right? The 2% fee back to the trust. Now the answer is obviously no, right? And this is the first time it's been that way because you got to think Kim has funded them for well over a year now, right?
Yeah.
And if you think about it, it might be like 2 years now, actually, I think about it. But if you think about it, it's so arrogant on their part that they think that Kim should work for free, but they should all get paid.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Well, it's not like
on top of that,
it's not like banks don't expect their fees to get paid.
Right. Well, of course. That's the first thing you take out, right? It's the first thing you do. So, and then if you think about it, it's not just Kim. See, Kim is, 99.8% bioidentical to the mitochondria Eve. That means, whether or not there's no argument to that. By the way, it doesn't have to be something that is biblical. I'm not trying to make Kim a prophet or anything, but just biologically, she's related to 99.8% of every human being on the planet, right? And she does, she never makes a big deal about this, but it does, make her responsible for the planet, right? And with that in mind, you got to think, well, what are they really blocking? They're not blocking just Kim. What they're doing is they were blocking, or they are blocking, I don't know, but blocking basically our rights to be the guardians and caretakers of this planet, to be free. They're blocking our, um, unalienable rights, our fundamental parts of what makes us human. And because if that money comes in and we realize that we have the ability to go and access the substance of this money and create freely, then their reign is over. Because what will happen, obviously, right? I mean, even if you don't expose the absurd child trafficking and practices there, and the enslavement of all humanity, even if you didn't expose that, you still would just have people that are innovative with amazing ideas for the first time ever be allowed to bring those things to market, to bring them out to the general public, right?
Yeah.
And that would essentially crush all of their, dedicated, mediocre things that they have in place, right? There's all of these things that are just outdated that are still main parts of our society, right? And so by blocking her, they block all of that innovation, right? They block, just people fulfilling their dreams, healing modalities, cures. So that's what they're blocking, right? Just to be clear. So everybody involved with that on that side of it, they all say they want to bring those things out, but I would say, well, prove it, because the reality is you had these same groups for all these years who've had access to all these things, right? Access to all types of things, and they've never brought them out to date, right? Why would they now? Right? They wouldn't bring them out now. They wouldn't. And that's the reality, right? They've kept these things from us. They don't want us to have them.
Right.
They think of us. They thought of us as cattle, and now Kim represents all of us, right?
And they have to go to her for the money.
Right. They have to go to her for the money, and all they could do was block, the kind of final, manifestation things. So if Trump's saying that Bank of America and Chase are doing a good job, and he knows full well that all the money was pulled back because they didn't pay a 2% fee to the trust, right? Now, because if he says that, I have to believe that that's a sign and a signal.
Right.
I just missed it yesterday.
Right.
Well, I have to believe that's a sign, a signal. Let us know it's going to be okay.
Well,
they finally cooperated.
Well, he gave his he talked about Bank of America yesterday, right? And that's also the same time Steve Mnuchin came out and gave the date and said, "Hey, we're going to be coming out with the checks, and it's going to come out by this date." So, he's saying next week. So, it may be that there was a breakthrough, if we want to think positively.
Well, I do want to think positively, and because all of this, I got to say to everybody out there, I can appreciate that this Corona sham is overwhelming. It is a lot to take in. It is just compounded ignorance, right? But I look for certain things, Dan. You might be familiar with this, right? When you get the exact same information from someone else, like verbatim, you can almost guarantee that it's the same, psyops. That it's not accurate. It's not firsthand. Yeah. It's pretty standard, in the intel gathering world, right? So I got this, there was a post on like Twitter or something talking about, there was 200 people that had coronavirus, 61 had died from coronavirus over here in South Nassau, Mount Sinai, South Nassau, right? And then I spoke to an EMT today, and I was trying to get some information from him, right? And he's like, "No, it's hell over there, right? It's a war zone," he said. I'm like, okay, I've heard that several times. It's a war zone, right? I'm like, okay. And then he said, no, there's 200 people with coronavirus there. I'm like, in the emergency room? He said, yeah. I said, okay, because I went there yesterday. I went there 3 days ago. I took video, and that's not the case. It's not that. Matter of fact, I didn't see 15 people working in the entire hospital. I didn't see a single ambulance go in the hour I was there. There was nothing. It wasn't even a siren sound. It was a ghost town, right? I'm like, so who's taking care of these 200 people? And since when did this tiny hospital, because it's not a big hospital, right? Mm-hmm. Since when did this tiny hospital have 200 beds in their emergency for people with coronavirus?
Yeah.
In the whole hospital, you might have 200 rooms, Yeah. So, I asked that, and he was like, and then he kind of changed the subject, went another way, right? because I don't think he's seen it, right? He's just speaking from a place of like, it's chaos. Now, I can validate everything. It does feel chaotic, right? Because I went to Costco today, right, to return some bad bread, and it was like an hour wait, and like there's screens up everywhere, and there's 6'5" security guy at the door. He's like, "You go there, get in this line," right? And I'm like, "Wow, this is intense," at Costco to return this bread, right? And it feels intense. And when I went to get pizza the other night, that was intense, And part of the reason is that you have everything shut down, so you can direct the flow, right? You can allow things to siphon in to wherever you want, right? And if you only have certain places open, obviously they're going to have a lot more people there, and there's going to be a lot more of a feel of chaos and fear, right?
Right.
But as far as the hospitals go, hospitals are vacant. But if people are being directed to certain hospitals, you can imagine that every emergency is traveling to certain hospitals, right? Yeah. And potentially traveling more, thus putting people in greater risk of danger, right? So all these things, they're obviously directing the flow to create chaos, and they're keeping your eye on those places. Meanwhile, it's like, I live in this neighborhood where this hospital is supposed to be so deadly, and I go there every day. I go by that hospital every single day just to see.
Yeah.
And I spend significant time there watching to see what's happening. And I'm telling you, in the time I've been there, unless it's just coincidence, that I have, when I'm there, nothing's happening, right? But I don't think it is, obviously.
Yeah.
So, so I think, I think that's kind of where we're at with that. And I think my hope and prayer and belief and confidence is that, the piece there about President Trump was maybe just psyops, and we can, or I mean, maybe it was true, but there's more to it,
Yeah.
And now we can push forward.
Yeah. Well, I think the kind of what I noticed on my news feed right today is that like everything is not news. I mean, my feed was is very interesting because normally it's filled with Fox, right? Well, it's like okay, but now it's not, right? So I'm wondering, something else. And then I just caught also this just came in. Let me share this with you and everyone else. Let me how to do this. Okay, share my screen. That's my Telegram. Okay, I'm sharing that. So is that coming over the? Not quite yet. So let me go ahead and switch this around. There we go. So this had just come in, so it's kind of interesting because this is appearing on television programs, right? Different television programs. It says, "We are here with you." Right? It says, "I'm watching King of Queens with my mom. Look, just what appeared in the upper right-hand corner at 7:10 p.m. Eastern Central. Then it disappeared. We are here with you." And then here's another one over here. I don't know what this program is, okay, but it's on Lifetime. Well, it looks like two here on Lifetime. And it says the same thing, "We are here with you." And then also this one, I don't know exactly who that is, but "We are here with you." That's three different ones that are doing that. There's a interesting, I guess, looks like a Twitter thing that says "We are here with you" hashtag. So it's kind of interesting. Maybe we can start looking for that, looking for that hashtag. So it's interesting. So "We are here with you" showing up on TV screens across America. Dan Scavino Jr. joins in. I gave some thumbs up. So anyway, I thought that's interesting. Yeah, that's showing that there is some things that are going down, and I know that the 4th seemed to be a date also, which there was some implications that there would be some things going now. What side of the whose plan the fourth was some major things to begin on? Don't know, but it seemed to be very light news day, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just kind of quieting, but then you get these messages. We are here with you, coming across the TV screens. That's kind of a very like, well, wake up, everyone. There's more going on here, right? Even if you still think it's just about the virus, right? It does seem like there is something else going on, and that's kind of a sign.
Yeah, I do think that's that is a powerful symbolism, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, when we're with you, like you're okay. It's interesting because my daughter's going through the stage. She's 7, and she's going through the stage where she's becoming. I think she's becoming kind of aware. So she's scared, of things. She doesn't like to be alone anymore. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she's with me, like, all the time, right? Just to feel safe. So she'll just come in and no matter what I'm doing, she'll just lay on me, right? And she just wants to be next to me, and she wants to feel safe, right? She wants to just falls asleep, right? All these things, and which is very normal for a kid, right? But there's something about it. She just wants me with her, right? She just wants to know I'm with her, right? Like she's with everything, and I think that is something that is comforting, right? That's even something that it talks about in the Bible. It says that in last verses in Matthew, it says, "And lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the age." Right.
Right.
And that I think that symbolism is important, right? Because oftentimes we have a savior mentality, and our savior's off up above the sun, moon, and stars, playing with us like action figures, right? But it's very different when you consider the great spiritual reality, the great spiritual existence that we all are connected by, and these quantum particles, if you want to look at it scientifically, or just, the Holy Spirit, if you want to look at it from that standpoint, or, the chi, or, these are all symbols and principles that are easily provable, that you can't deny, that we're all connected by a larger energetic field on purpose, right? And whoever that is that has the ability to do that, be like, look, we're with you. I think is very, very, very powerful. I often think about this with the testimony of the Messiah, right? Is that he was the son of a carpenter, right? And it would have been a lot easier if he would have been born to royalty or something. And you could see who he was.
Well, he was.
He was. Well, yeah, right. Born of God, right? Sure.
Well, no. I mean, his mother was descendant of King David, right? They are royalty, and so his father was not a carpenter. His father was a builder of cities. He's like Donald Trump. Just picture him as Donald Trump of that day. His Joseph's brother was first citizen of Rome, and was and lent money to the Rome for carrying out war. So that's
who. Read that.
Yeah, there's a book called Hidden Politics of the Crucifixion. This is the most fascinating book. It was a guy that was an atheist, right? That wanted to disprove, that Jesus was God and all this kind of stuff, right? By the end of his research, he flipped and he became a believer. But in this book, he really talked about what the relationships were and what was actually going on in the politics. And if you realign your thinking, the idea of poverty of Jesus is put there so that he could connect to the poor people. He wasn't poor; he was very wealthy. I mean, they had the best donkeys, to transport. They didn't walk, right? to Bethlehem.
Yeah, but even that, I mean, for 3.5 years, the Messiah's ministry, he went from town to town with picking up every helpless cripple and stray, and he went to the docks to tell fishermen.
Sure.
He's like, you follow me, right? So it wasn't like he was like, even if that was his birthright, I guess, he did spend his time with the people at that point, right?
Yeah. Well,
and the people come in all shapes and sizes, right? Wealth isn't the point, right? But
sure. I know. I'm sorry. It's one of those things that I like to straighten out because I learned this a long time ago, right? The reason Mary was educated in England. I'm putting today's terminology, right? And they had lead and tin mines in the UK, right? So you think that these are world travelers? Jesus took off, for 30 years. Where did he go? Well, he was on his uncle's shipping lines and traveled around the world, right? So we had reports of him in India and China. So
right, you haven't mentioned in Chinese scriptures actually, the olive-skinned gentleman. They refer to I think they actually use Joshua is actually what they use, but they but yeah, I mean you're right. You have them all over the world. By the time he's 12 is the last time you hear about him in the Bible when he goes to the temple, and then for 18 years he disappears. Right?
Oh yeah, 18 years. Yeah. So,
yeah. But either way, I mean 12, I guess probably at that time is like you're a man, right? I guess.
Right. Well, 13 is the rite of passage, right? Usually something like that. It's when your voice changes. Your voice changes, and the testes drop. Right. You start speaking in more deeper tones. Right.
Yeah, but so with all that, I think it's important. I think the message is valuable. Right? He's here. I mean, not even necessarily he as a savior, but if you're really looking for salvation, I mean, everything about the Messiah's ministry, you can go through the scriptures line by line. He says things like, greater things than these shall ye do, right? So if you're going to do greater things, you got to think, well, how is that possible? I mean, you're feeding the multitudes, turning water into wine, cured every illness, make the blind see, right? How can you possibly do greater things than that unless he's, telling you that you have the same spirit in you? He says to the disciples, one of the last things he talks to them about, he says, from this day forward, you are my friends. And he says, now you're my friends as long as you do exactly what I tell you to do. Now that's the way it reads. Now, I think that's probably a mistransliteration, but the next thing he says is very powerful. He says, love one another. Right? Love your neighbor like your own self. That's what he says. Yeah. That's the thing that he wants you to do, right? That's the one thing that he put above all other things, all the things he could have said to them, right? Don't take the Lord's name in vain, or don't lie, don't cheat, don't murder, don't steal. No, that's not what he said. He said, love one another. And but friends, even from that standpoint, when I call you my friend, what I'm doing is I'm acknowledging you as an equal, right? Like we are friends, right? Like we come up with ideas together, we move together, we create together, whatever our experiences are together, right? We're friends. It's not a master-slave situation the way it's portrayed, right? He says, you are my friends. So all that to me, speaks to, we're here with you, So I like that. That's my point.
Yeah. Well, just trying to bring the truth out, right? And so we end up going down some tangents here. I've got another tangent if you'd like to travel down the rabbit hole. No, let's not use that term right now. That's a different rabbit hole. This is actually. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. This is actually a court case that is filed by the country of India against China for $20 trillion. So they're basically suing them, basically to say that they're the responsible for the pandemic. So Very
Wow.
interesting, right? And they start outlining things, and I didn't read all of it. I just started going through it, but I'll just read this part. The World Health Organization has declared a pandemic over the novel coronavirus, which causes an illness known as COVID-19 that has spread to at least 170 countries and territories. The pandemic declared by the WHO, uh, World Health Organization, is primarily due to the conspiracy of the Chinese government aimed at catapulting itself into position of a superpower of the world and undermining other countries through biological warfare. Gross negligence and incompetence of Chinese government and their authorities. The Chinese government responded in dealing with COVID-19 pandemic have violated various charters and guidelines issued by the Honorable United Nations and have endangered the lives of millions and has life and business across the globe to complete brought business across the globe to a complete standstill. It's really just talking like on this date, December 1st is the first patient. 5 days later, his wife is sick. So that means it's person to person, right? Man to man, man to woman. It can basically, you can catch it from another human being, in which they denied that, right? They didn't say that you could do that for another, almost 2 months. So look how much it spread just because of that. Right, and here's like December 25th, two hospitals, the staff was quarantined. Right, so it goes on through this, but they talk about what happened to the doctors. It's a very lengthy document. So I'll put the link in our chat group.
There's an Australian doctor out there. I think his name is Tom Bennett. And I say the doctor, he might just be a biologist of some sort, right? But he studied extensively, pathogenic diseases and viruses, and and really extensive, great educational background that he brought to the table. And he came out, and I don't know when it was posted, but I saw it today. And he brought up some very good science, which I agree with. He said that viruses cannot be caught. You cannot catch a virus, right, from someone else. This is not true, right? And he explains the science of it, right? He explains how, this is when your cells become toxic and your cells begin to get rid of, the substance, the RNA substance that's there in the cells. And then this substance, your body tries to get rid of it, right? Now you can't catch that, right? Now you might be toxic, and then it manifests the same way, right? And that would be a logical conclusion. But if that's the case, right, and what he was saying is true, I mean, he backed it up with some really good science that I only watched it briefly, but I understand it well enough, that I've heard this before. So you have all everyone, no one's looking to see what is making us toxic, right? Why are people getting sick, right? Why are they toxic? And then there's another doctor here in New York who's saying, like, they're dealing with it. He said it's not the coronavirus. He's saying that outright. He said the cells are toxic, and he thinks it's being caused by the 5G. He's looking for other physicians that he can collaborate with, right? And now I personally, if I were to look at it from an energetic and spiritual standpoint, and I look at it from a 100% responsibility standpoint, right? And I look at it at one individual at a time, each of us being responsible for the the kind of world that we exist in, right? And just and if you're not into the energetic or spiritual idea of that, just think about it from a natural standpoint of what you think about, you generally talk about, and what you talk about, you usually take action on, right? So thought, word, and deed, right? These are core principles that guide everything that we do. And this is generally, we don't want to just act without thinking about it or talking it out with somebody, right? In general, right? It's just how the world works, and those are just kind of physical ways of explaining, what I would say is, kind of energetic manifestation. So if they thought about this plan extensively, and they thought that their 5G would be much more powerful than it is, right? Because they thought they were going to be able to just, inject everybody with vaccines. Everybody would be vaccinated, and this would interact somehow with their 5G networks they just launched.
Right.
And then they would send out a message and say, buy toilet paper. 100% of the people go buy toilet paper, and only 37% did, right? So that means that their network, their grid, is diminished by 63%, right? So they got to go overboard in the psyops, right, to really promote it, really exaggerate, and talk about how awful it is, how terrible everything is. It's so bad, right?
And
you got to say all
there's
these things
200
over
patients
and over and over again.
And
So even somebody who's logical, will be hearing this, and they know better. And it's hard to come out from underneath because you're drowning in it, right? You're forced to sit there and do nothing but watch television and whatever else, right? And then you realize they've got it ingrained in everything. Everything is talking about this same broken principle over and over and over again, right? We're all subject to corona or the crown, right? That's what corona means, the crown. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to implant using neuro-linguistic, programming,
right,
to get us all to feel like we're subject to the crown. But not only that, because remember that even like the first abuse, right? They declared us dead, right? Or a corporation and corporate application as a dead entity. Well, so what happens? They have us all talking about, we have to stay 6 feet away from each other. We can't touch anyone, right? So we're all 6 feet under, right? We're all living out death, and they're programming that into us so that it's, and I don't think it's a stretch, to be honest. This is very normal.
Well,
right?
One of the things that I picked up on today was that Dr. Fauci was, he's often caught standing up there next to Trump while Trump is speaking, and he puts his hand halfway in his jacket, right? The hidden hand symbol, which is a Masonic symbol. So,
Oh, the Manna plague? Oh, really?
Yeah. So maybe there's some already talk that Fauci's been there since Bush, all the Bushes and Obamas and Clintons. So he also worked with the current head of the WHO in where a lot of money got missing that was for AIDS in Ethiopia, right? And that money just disappeared. So there's some stuff about him that makes him suspect. Now, I'm sure that Trump is using him as, for the role that he's there, right? But I think there'll be I heard also today that there's another task force forming with Trump, right? So the question was asked by one of the reporters, and then he basically said, "Yes, we're forming another task force." Does that mean Fauci is going out? Yeah. So.
Well, it would make sense, right? I mean, from a practical standpoint, to have different groups, gathering information. But I would say that in all likelihood, Kim has been telling Trump this is a farce, right? Yeah. And he's done things like this before, where he made a different decision, right? He took the guidance of Eric Prince and went over to Vietnam to get the $27 trillion in USD that was supposed to be all printed up there, and when they got there was no money.
Well,
vaults,
just
right?
On the side of Trump there for a moment. If it was me and someone told me to come and look at 27 trillion on pallets, I'd want to go see.
No, yeah, but I'm not saying that's. I'm not criticizing. I mean, the guy's bombarded with all types of stuff on all sides, right?
Yeah.
But my point was that Eric Prince was, as much as he claims to be a good guy, right? I know that he's been constantly working to be the king of North America, because he wanted to be the Black Dragon, and he was for a little while.
So he wants to be Eric King instead of Eric Prince.
I'm sorry, Eric Prince, right?
Yeah, but I said he wants to be Eric King.
Okay, yeah, yes, exactly. So, but my point is that Trump's bombarded with all types of things, right? And then there's obviously some deep connections there to the Kennedys, right? And I think the JFK had good intentions, right? What he was trying to do with Sukarno, and I think Sukarno got taken out, right? But Sukarno was the culmination of all the royal bloodlines, right?
Right. He
So
was the M1 born into the position by way of breeding all the royal families
right,
together. 128 families bred down to one.
right. So he was the embodiment, right? So he had the trust of everyone, right? And so for him and JFK to team up, right? But back then you still had Mark Duke, and he was this mysterious godlike figure who controlled everything, right? And so like, and he was always pitting both sides against each other, right? Yeah. So while you think you're going against one, right, you're giving your information to your handler, who's giving it back to him, and he's activating the other side to do whatever, right? So, it's hard to say. Everybody was just trying. I mean, I think for the most part, a lot of people throughout history were just trying to do their best to do something right, do something good, right? But there wasn't a way, right? There wasn't any disclosure about what was really going on, above the scenes, and so. See, but with President Trump, I think it would make sense. You got to think these people have tried to deceive him, trick him, make him look bad, set him up, threaten his family. I mean, this is his presidency. It's a nightmare, right? And every one of those things are facts, right? I know for a fact there's been times where he was supposed to make certain announcements, and he didn't do it because right before he got a horrible threat, against his family, right? And he had to make a split-second decision, right? So you can imagine even with this, it might have just been Trump setting them up the whole time here.
Yeah, I tend to think that Trump is kind of like, he follows that Sun Tzu Art of War pretty closely. Keep your enemies close, right? And then at the right time, he switches gears to get his stuff accomplished. So how far can he travel down the road? Keep stringing them along before he has to flip on them, right? And then they know what's going on.
Yeah, that's what. So I think that's right now is that's kind of what you're seeing. And I'm very hopeful that that's true. It's and honestly, whatever the reasons are at this point, it's to kind of get us there. It's if you're going to transition power, right now, they've been leading up to this, quote unquote peaceful transition of power, right? Now we usually use that to describe the presidency,
right?
But it's actually from that was designed to be from the the black dragons of the west to black dragons of the west to the yellow dragons of the east. But it's not going to be that, right? Because these other factions, their time where this planet has been ruled by people who view themselves as subhuman or superhuman or above humanity, something different, something special, right? Their loyalty could never be to the planet itself, to the people themselves, right? To the living things on the planet, right? Those of us who are permanent inhabitants here, right? Because they're always aspiring to be somewhere else,
right?
Right. So, this fee going back to the trust is very, very, very important, right? Because it is symbolic of all of us being included and recognized as as being responsible for this planet.
Right.
So I'm excited. So I think that is what's happened. That's just my vibe on it right now.
What if we had a organized protests, or not protests so much as in more of rallies that would be at the banks saying, "Pay the fee." Pay the admin fee.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
That would be a good sign of a real awakening, right?
Yeah.
I've really studied this a little bit. I've had a bunch of people that have kind of outside our traditional group of people that I know, or people that I know would be watching what we're doing, and they told me they did a search on Google for DANK and Lisa. They did a search. And it came up with something about Nancy Pelosi, right? And everything was about Nancy Pelosi. And I thought, well, we did do a show on Nancy Pelosi, so maybe that's what it was. That show never came up, but it was all this other stuff on Nancy Pelosi. Almost like Nancy Pelosi wanted us to know that she's the one who was trying to screw us over, right? Another one is, what they did with that one video where they completely created a brand new YouTube channel, and posted my video there without my name, without anything reference to Speak Project or anything we do.
Well,
right? Put somebody else's name there. Just try to throw people off the scent.
I didn't talk to you about this before, but I did notice, after I did the house cleaning on the chat room, and I removed the troll that was sitting there for a long time, and that another troll, I think is a troll, but more sophisticated, came into the room, and what he was saying is, well, it looks like Tank doesn't really believe that the stuff he's saying.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. But me, referring to me, he's trying to, befriend me, right? It's like that I don't quite, to buy it, right? So he's kind of I'm taking that angle and going.
That is the funniest thing I have ever heard.
Yeah.
I have been accused of many things. Not believing what I say is definitely not one of them. But wow, I mean, like
So
you're really stretching when you try to go after that angle.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it was kind of like, well, I kind of replied, and I set him straight, and I left it there. But that kind of stuff is not going to really fly, So, but it seemed like it was quite out of place for how people normally comment on things. It just didn't quite fit. So now maybe it was just a guy that was, his first impressions of things. Maybe it was something innocent. Okay, but maybe not. But it's a long road to get to this point, right? And the stuff that things may change and from day to day, but in general, the plan to basically bring abundance to the earth, to basically replace the current financial system with something that is going to allow people to prosper, allow people to thrive. That is not changing. And the path to get there is going to go down some interesting trails. You don't know what you're going to find around the corner, right? Even starting with QAnon, this is one of these trails that go down, and all along the way, people have been trying to, get rid of it, or say it's a phony, or it's fake news, or it's a LARP, but no, this is real. It has so much behind it. In that you can't predict things out. You just read all of the posts from a year ago and 2 years ago from today's date. Go back on QAnon and see what he said 1 year exactly and 2 years exactly, and it'll apply to what's actually going on right now. That's not a LARP. That's and to so all these things that we've been moving forward on. Even Thomas brought up Swiss Indo and Sarcarno, and that's how that all came about, right? And so that's that path for me, taking me through there, right? One People's Public Trust that popped up in conversations throughout while I was there was the first time I got exposed to it. Later found out Heather Antucci Jafar was moving towards doing things. So all these different paths are all going in the same direction, all supporting the same timeline of where we're actually being abundant and we're successful. So, individual little twists and turns about something, everything leads back to the same path. So, I'm not going to be surprised, that the banks start flipping, right? Because they know what's going on deep underground in the dumbs, and that they're being routed out. I mean, how else would they be so confident, right? But to expect that they really have a worldwide government underground, right? That is above everything, figuratively, right? Because it's really below. And so they're confident because they have all this power. It's gone. I don't know if it's 3/4 of it is already gone. I mean, I had that number that was given to me, and 77% of them were already taken out. That was how many days ago already? It was already a week ago. So how much is left? The biggest base is like underneath Colorado and the Denver airport. It's already taken over. You, I actually went out to Colorado or to Denver one time, right, on a business trip, and I wanted to see, because when I was in high school, right, and I'm reading the L.A. Times, and I'm looking at it, and it's saying that the luggage system was $1 billion, in what was it, 83 or whatever it was, 82, 83. It was $1 billion over budget. The luggage system. I said, there's something else going on here. There's no $1 billion luggage system. Oh,
right. Like, you mean the conveyor belt?
Yeah, like the conveyor belt. What were they doing? Teleportation of luggage?
I know. What was happening there? Right? Yeah. That is hilarious.
Yeah. So anyway, so when I went out there, I went looking around. I said, well, I want to see what's going on out here, and I even I saw strange things at the airport, of course, and then also I went traveling around the airport. I followed one of these roads heading off into the Rocky Mountains, right? And as I'm going, I'm seeing these weird houses. They're like along the highway that are fenced off. They look like a house, but they have these giant louvers on the top of the roof. I mean, it's not normal. I mean, I'm not talking.
What was a giant what?
Louvers. They kind of open and close for vents. They're vents.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
There's definitely lots of stuff. Like, actually, one of my first contacts that ever actively recruited me, right, was this guy who lived up in Colorado, and he was with the CIA, and I didn't know that. And he was recruiting me, right? He was kind of grooming me and giving me all types of really amazing intel and all types of stuff, right? And he actually had gone and spent significant time. Would go to this facility there in Colorado where they did the reverse engineering. Where they would take alien technology, and they would reverse engineer it. And he was describing it to me, explaining it, right? And he actually his job though, right, was to move me into a certain position, and I kind of caught on what went on. I wouldn't cooperate, right? And so they ended up, they killed him off with stomach cancer, right? It was terrible, right?
That's pretty bad.
But he described some pretty amazing things. One of the things he described was that there was a plan to. He wanted me. He was telling me look, you're going to be on a very special list. He told me to invest. They always try to bait you with things, right? That a very special list to establish a new kind of airport, and the new kind of airport was for spaceships is what he was saying, right? And he was telling me you'll be on that list included. They know your name, all the typical hype kind of stuff that they try to gas you up with. But I thought that was really interesting, right? And based on the other information he had given me, I mean, down to coordinates and photographs, I mean, it was original stuff, right? That I was very impressed with, So it was the right way to come with me, to be honest. I thought it was really cool. But yeah, that was all in Colorado.
Yeah. Well, I know that it's a massive entry point. What's it? There's another group. I forgot what they're called. I should bring up that video. But they were doing a lot of that analysis, and they were looking at the ports and the picture that QAnon showed of the port of Long Beach, and it was really sealed. The beach, the port is a little bit south, and they did all this triangulation, right? And it all pointed, and they ended up in Century City in Los Angeles. It's kind of one of the sub-cities, but it's like it was a little financial realm, right? But there's two twin towers there, that are triangular. They're triangular buildings, three-sided buildings, and they were side by side. And I actually used to work in those buildings when I was going to college. I was a security guard, right? I was burning the midnight oil. I was doing all my studying at night from midnight to 8 in the morning shift, right? And so I knew those buildings really well. I also know that across the way there was a hotel there called Century Plaza, and I know that Ronald Reagan used to stay there at the Century Plaza. And so I got a lot of stories about that, right? And there's some underground access from that hotel. There's an elevator, you go in, you turn the special key, and you'll go down to a floor beneath, right? That was an access point for the mag rail. And I had this conversation with Pete Peterson, the one that who's deceased, but was where David Wilcox was his main informant, right? And so Pete had told me that was also a place where he was the inventor of a technology, or part of the team that developed a teleporter, and they actually could teleport from that location to Houston, Texas, right, by way of a fiber optic cable. The first time that they did it, they transferred it by way of fiber optics. They would basically dematerialize someone from one location and rematerialize them by way of fiber optics into Houston. So I found that everything that they were laying out on this video, I should try and find it and bring it up, at least point people to it. That this pointed to that direction, and I mean it's very, very interesting. I'll look for it while we're talking here.
Yeah, sure. Now stuff like that, I'm very aware there's ways to teleport, different methods to do that. But I'm so fascinated by that. How much easier, how much different would life be? I would love it if people just drove a lot less, so that I would still drive because I like to drive. I like cars. But can you imagine what it would be like if people were teleporting everywhere, right?
Right.
You want to go to a meeting in China, you just go. You just walk through a teleportation device in your office, and you're there for a meeting. Probably do away with Zoom, I guess.
Yeah, well, I guess it can get to that point. I think that is within the realm of possibility, that we literally, in our home, we'd have a door that we open, right? And we walk through, and we're in someone else's home that's the other side of the planet, or, quite frankly, anywhere in the galaxy or the universe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very probable. I remember being a kid and imagining what we're doing right now. I was like, wow, it'd be amazing. Like the Jetsons, where you just speak like via telephones that are like television, right?
Right.
Now here we are. We just do it on a regular basis. Like my kids, call my parents in South Carolina, just talk to them on Zoom all the time. It's just normal.
Okay.
So
I did find the video. Let me go ahead and switch you over so you can take a look. And we also have Gunner on, just so you know. Okay. So this is the Twin Towers. All right, and you can see when you're looking from above, it's got this access to they're pointing out these tunnels. Well, this is access to the subterranean parking. Their parking goes down, as far as anyone knows, to level F. Right, but there was signs that I think that maybe there were some places where it had access to go down through another gated area that I couldn't get through to. And looking at to where some of the piping and other things that were going down, it seemed to me like this stuff was continuing downward. So I don't know how many layers it went down from above there, but you can see you've got this eye here at the top. At the very top, where on the right-hand side, where it has this red line across, this is the Century Plaza Hotel, right? And that's where you'd have to be able to go down, right, and to a subterranean area. If not far from here, I'd say probably a matter of maybe 3 to 5 miles, something like that. You get to where where the federal building is in West Los Angeles. You keep going all the way to west until you hit the ocean. You'll hit the Rand Corporation building. So I know that there's also the VA that's on the other side of the freeway. It's the 405 freeway, just on the other side of the federal building, the VA hospital. The part of the VA complex, there are some really old buildings from like World War II, and a very large amount of land leads right into where the Getty Center is, up on the mountain. And I know that there was a time they were rebuilding one of these they were putting in a new building, and they put up these really high walls to kind of block it off while they did the construction, right? And I would jog that area, right? So I went and I was kind of peeking and I didn't see. I said, I can't see the bottom of this hole that they're digging. Right?
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Of course, I'm peering through a little hole and everything. I'm looking at something. This would be kind of big building that they're going to put in here, right? Because they'd have to make a foundation. I'm thinking they're building a foundation for a building, right? They got to pour, a concrete pillars, and maybe that's going to go down, 2 or 3 stories or something like that. But no, I mean, I think I could see probably from my angle, maybe 20 stories down, right?
Wow.
So there's a lot of underground complex there. So I think maybe even a whole city underneath Los Angeles. So they also, I know, in Pursuit of Truth, iPod on YouTube, his channel, he's invested a lot of the tunnels and houses that have access throughout Hollywood, and this is also right next to Hollywood. Right after this, this is actually near Beverly Hills. It's kind of like sandwiched between Hollywood and Beverly Hills is kind of between this place, Century City, and Hollywood. So, it's very interesting. Anyway, this is called "The Storm Is Upon Us" from April 2nd. We the People Insider, 1776. If you want to kind of go back, and you look at, I'm not gonna play their video, but if you start looking at how they were lining up things from this picture of Long Beach Harbor, right, that Q gave us, right? But what they were tying together though was, see the pens that and the watches that were also posted there, which is from whether it's Trump's watch or not. He was lining up actually the angle of the pens, right, and placing it on here. And that's how he got to the orientation to take you right into Century City, right? Very fascinating how deep this is. This is no lark, right? By the way, this orange rectangle over here on the left side, Smith Island, this is where the hospital ship has docked. Over here.
Oh, okay. Right.
So, and then he was also lining up the sort of mirroring effect where the other ship passed by this area. Like this is where the SEAL teams are stationed, right? And the ship made a Q, kind of loop de loop while it passed by, and then where it stopped here in the red, he said it kind of slowed down to a crawl at that point. So they did this loop and made it form a Q. Everyone's, oh, isn't that cute? It's a Q. But this stayed at this location at almost stationary position, right next to where the SEALs headquarters are. Maybe for onboarding?
I'd say.
Yeah.
I mean, even the watch that they show there is it's a diver's watch, or at least a diver's style watch.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't. It may be good underwater, but it's a very expensive watch. It's like more than a Rolex kind of thing.
Yeah, but I mean that style, the way it is, the open face.
Yeah.
You know,
so also
face.
over here on this side, let me see if I get a better picture of this. What I'm trying to point out here. This little corner picture, and this picture was the key to the angle. This wake that's there. Without that wake, this whole picture doesn't make any sense. So that's how they got the beginning of this and how the angle started to fit. So this was the other part. The hospital ship passed by here, Seal Beach, right? Compared to the Virginia Beach on the other side, where they picked up the SEAL team.
Wow!
Right.
Wow.
So again, this is pretty way out there what this was drawing. Right. But this whole Avenue of the Stars, area and how it has these pyramid designs. I always thought it was a fascinating building. Another little oddity that interesting was Larry Flint had his Hustler magazine in this this lower building here. All right, I think he occupied 2 floors. He actually lived here in this building. It's an office building, but he made his own home inside where his offices were down below for Hustler. So I ended up escorting him up to his place a couple of times.
Wow.
Little oddities.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where I sent them a message about this being a location for accessing the maglev and the teleporter. So I put it in their comments.
Oh, yeah,
I don't know how else
sure.
to get them for information, but I just made a comment in their video. Oh, actually, it's probably down here. Let's see, look at the comments. Oh, here I am, right here, Dan Woods. The building at 2025 Avenue of Stars, Century Plaza Hotel. It's an access point for Underground City and maglev. City extended to the Federal Building near the 405 freeway and the Rand Building in Santa Monica. Ronald Reagan would stay there at the hotel whenever he stayed in L.A. Pete Peterson, that was Dave Wilcox's informant, told me it was an access point for a teleporter, used a fiber optic cable, and stretched to Houston, Texas. So, anyway, very interesting. I just don't know if they're, how, where do you go from here, right? Does that mean that the hospital ship and the SEAL team, that they're coming here? I mean, this would be Cabal Central on the West Coast, I would say, right? This is the financial district.
Yeah.
This is where Century City, for the new century, it's kind of that they built it for the purpose of the elite.
Sure.
So, it's just very, very interesting. All right.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah. All this stuff, it's fascinating. I do love to piece these things together, figure them out. But right now, I think more than anything is, I was talking to some folks about this today, that I really think we're at a time where, cryptic messaging and, the underground, secret texts and different, encrypted websites and things of that nature. We're at a time where you've got to bring some reality to this mainstream, right? And you can see how this process right now could go either way, right? You can see how they'd want to bring in, they could use this to bring in socialism, right? Like, everybody,
sure.
All these businesses went out of business. Now what do we do? If we were socialists, this wouldn't be a problem because we would just give you money, right? Like, or like Bernie Sanders is talking about, or it can be the complete opposite, right? And it can be this incredible opportunity for businesses to thrive everywhere because it's making available all this stimulus money, and it's going to be money that is given out to spend and forgiven, right? So even if people lost money, it's like, hey, you're going to get the money right back, and spend some time with your kids,
No, it's that is, I think, in every way that I see this, the very low amount of deaths, from this, it's probably going to be down to 0.002, that's really died from it. After they're just inflating the numbers on purpose. I think the media is going to be held responsible for this inflation of the panic, right? Because the the hospitals reporting deaths that are, hey, the guy came in with a cardiac arrest. They test him. Oh, he had already Corvex, I think, but he died of the heart attack. No, he died of the China virus. That kind of overinflation. This is treason to the people, right? You're siding with an enemy, which is, in this case, the Chinese Communist Party. So we're going to see that this is, like Trump said, we know where this came from. So this.
And it's not. Yeah, the Communist Party would be what is commonly accepted, but it's the Chinese elders and the whole Rothschild,
right,
order of the, all these groups, right? I'll tell you something though. I had a great conversation talking about the New York Assembly and gathering together all these assemblies in every state, right? And this, I realize, is so important right now. And I realized it when I saw Candace Owens, who, I love Candace Owens. And Candace Owens said, based on the Florida State's hospital or governor, I don't know which it was. I feel like she mentioned something about the governor, but maybe it's the hospital. She said, reporting a suffocated baby, right, as the coronavirus, as the death of the coronavirus. She asked for an audit on all hospitals for the coronavirus deaths, and I'm like, that is genius.
You go, girl.
And I'll tell you what. And I thought about this in the assembly. It's like, you know what? That in New York, as well as that is going to be one of the very first things I want brought up, because there are reports pouring in. People reporting in newspapers ignorantly. This woman died of coronavirus, and then her children speaking of it saying, no, she died in hospice and it had nothing to do with the coronavirus, right? She was in hospice, first of all, right? Hospice is where you're going
to die.
End of life care, right?
Yeah.
And there's reports like this coming out everywhere, right? So they're not just coincidence, right? Why would anyone, unless they're being instructed to, why would anyone falsely claim that that's the case, right? Why would they do it?
Right.
And the only logical reason is because they're either being threatened, they're being told about a bigger plan, they're being told that this is a military operation, right, that's in place, and that this is what we have to report to see how the people react so they can get real data. These are all very plausible things that are going on, right?
Yeah.
But it would appear to me that they have included many doctors, many EMT workers, many people in a massive collective psyops, right? And they're passing it off as a military operation.
Right.
For this, we have to test this because there's other things coming down the line, which is what they want to happen.
Right.
So because of that, as a doctor or EMT, like, you're testing it so the people are ready, so you can see what the limits are or whatever, right? And I do believe that. Now, that's one option. Now, the other option, we have, one of my guys here, right? I mean, he's pretty badass, former, military guy, right? He's got all types of, like, cool gadgets and infrared cameras and stuff, right? So he's setting up, and he's been going to all these different hospitals, right? He's also been going out to Long Island to measure the 5G waves, right? To see what their impact are. And his meters are, he said it's off the charts. He doesn't have a meter big enough to measure it, right? And he said, he goes, and then on top of that, when you go to these hospitals, now he's been to 5 hospitals. I've been to 2 hospitals so far, and I plan to go to more. And I'm also, I'm speaking to the actual group that is down on location at Central Park, right? Now, this group, we have bad reports about them, right? That they're not this benevolent organization, but in fact, they themselves have been involved in child trafficking, right? And that comes from Michelle Walker, who, if anybody knows Michelle Walker, right? And so this group is called Samaritan Perks, right? Now, oftentimes, in an organization, you have one part that's involved with something nefarious, and the other part is really just trying to do good. So I don't want to write them off and say that this is not happening, right? But I don't know what else they're known for other than that, right? As of right now. But I was supposed to have a conference call with one of their people today to get in a press pass and be able to go down there. Because remember, I volunteered. I said, look, I want to actually, I want to actually have somebody who has some integrity, right, go down there and be allowed access to report. If there's kids being saved, the people should know about it. That's a fact. Now, if this is true, we should not allow this to just be rumors on the internet.
Right.
There should be real reports. Because
coming up out of the hole, carrying the kids, showing them, going down in the hole, following the soldiers, finding the cages, showing what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah. We need to see it.
And that should be put out there so that people can draw their own conclusions and ask their own questions and say, wait a minute, why are these kids down there?
Right.
You want to talk about a story that should be leading everywhere? I mean, right now, you have, they've positively identified exactly how the coronavirus got brought into the United States. And it's not through like natural channels of someone flying back over, right?
Really?
It was in Harvard. There's a major investigation going on about this, right? It happened at Harvard University. The guy who worked there worked 9 months in Wuhan lab.
Sure.
He got arrested for taking sensitive biological material back and forth from China to the U.S. Right? And his specialty is working in nanites, right? That's what he does. So, and I'm sure it's going to trace back to the Gates Foundation, right?
Yeah. Because
Bill Gates pretty much brags about this all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, Bill Gates is a serial killer, right? And he gets up. I mean, he is a mass murderer. He talks about it all the time in glowing terms, like he's doing us all a favor to relieve us of our pathetic lives, right?
Yeah.
So, but my point is that's the kind of thing that should be mainstream. And every single broadcaster that has, that has signed off on all these other lies should be relieved of duty immediately. I mean, they should be taken out because at this point, they are a weapon. They've been weaponized against the people, right? So if they have been weaponized against the people, right, the media, then what do you do with weapons? That are being used against people. You got to get rid of them, right? You can't just have a weapon that's constantly bombarding people and creating fear and doubt, worry and anger and division, lies being perpetuated constantly, trying to cause a coup against the president. I mean, all that has to stop. That has to stop. Everything should be fair and balanced. Everything.
Everything should be news and not sensationalized. It shouldn't be opinion. Right. It shouldn't be about opinion. Facts, facts, facts. And not skewed facts, not half the facts that tell half a story. The full story.
Well, there's so much to tell. And everybody's been trained into sound bites, right?
Yeah.
So people get their messages in like 90 seconds, right? That's about how long they pay attention. And if you don't capture their attention probably the first 15 seconds, it's like, for the most part, people are going to tune out. A majority of the population, right?
Right.
So anyways, I volunteered for that, and then I am working on it now, and I actually we're gonna have Speak Projects press passes, and I'm gonna do all I can to get down there and actually, get some accurate information. And I want to see now. My guy was down there; he got all types of pictures, right? And he's like, nothing's going on there. There's nobody there, right? So Especially when in the daytime. So we hear they're taking the kids out at night. So.
Well, I also volunteer. I don't know how to make it happen, but I volunteer. It's like,
But what have all the workers been told? You know, are they really workers? Are they just trauma actors? You know,
right.
You know, you have this Dr. Colleen Smith now. We have people now. She has a profile on LinkedIn. She has, you know, different attachments to the website. But you know, it's a common practice to call a place like to see, you know, to check to verify employment, right?
Sure.
That's normal, right? For like for a mortgage or, you know, for a new job. You call up and you say, hey, you have a record of Dan Luce being employed there? And they say yes or no.
Right.
That's normal. So that is a very easy thing to check. They check out Dr. Colleen Smith and she doesn't work at Elmer's Hospital. But there's all types of records that show, you know, she definitely does. So it's hard to say, like, well, if you call the hospital and they can't verify employment, what are you talking about? Like, does she even exist? And everything else is fabricated, right? So those things have to be called into question, right? Because even her experiences, something they showed, was ridiculous. You know?
Yeah.
It doesn't prove anything. Meanwhile, we're hearing that there's 200 people. 200 people. You know what an emergency
well,
looks
you
like?
can't you go to the hospital and ask to speak with her? In person. I mean, she's there 24/7.
Well, I did reach out to the hospital to see about procuring masks because I had contact. You know, they had all these masks, and I was like, okay. So I reached out to them, you know, and just left a message to be like, you know, I heard from Dr. Colleen Smith that there's an issue with masks. I have sources that have masks, and we can procure them for you. Please let us know if you need our assistance. Right? And they never got back to me, so it can't be that urgent.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but anyways, so I can't emphasize nothing. There has to be somebody who could go on scene. And Dan, I would love. Wouldn't it be great if you could fly over, you know, like, hey man, you know, we're going on the scene, dude.
That's it.
Go help rescue some kids.
I want to get one of those microphones, you know, hold it up and it has. Oh, it can't for some reason. It doesn't show. Oh, there we go. Wow. Hello. You know, put as a reporter, put it in their face with the Speak Project on as a label. So can you tell me where are these kids? Why are you pulling them out of the ground? You know, and ask those questions.
Right, and you know, and force them to conduct themselves with some kind of integrity, like where you have a representative that, you know, is there that admits, no, this is a real task force. These are real children being pulled out because this is what has happened, right? And you give that information out, and you stop treating, you know, this whole intelligence modality of compartmentalized information, and you keep the public completely ignorant, so we just go about our merry way. You know, I think about this all the time. That, you know, whenever I have a question of something I can't understand, I look at the human body. And the human body is a blueprint that you can basically understand every problem in life, I think, just by looking at how the body works, right? Because it reflects how God works, how the universe works, right? So if you look at your body now, if you want to grow, you want your muscles to grow, the best way to ensure that happens is muscle shock, right? You want your muscles, you want to not grow, do the same thing. Do the same workout every day, you will not grow, right? You'll grow for a little while, then you'll stop, right? But you shock your muscles, and what happens is your muscles are forced to expand. Now, I think that the public needs muscle shock, right? They need to be shocked into realizing all the hatred and, you know, all their doubting, all the, you know, because it was so uncomfortable for them to comprehend.
Yeah.
No, that's real.
Right.
That's really been happening, right? It wasn't just that one creepy uncle. It's something that is practiced on a regular basis by all types of, you know, elite groups. And then from there, then we'll see if the people stand up to be part of the assembly.
Sure.
See if they stand up to be, they want a place in government, and they want to challenge, you know, the corporation. All of a sudden, everybody's going to be doing real research for the first time.
Yeah.
The first time, everybody's going to be, you know, looking out for their kids and making sure they know who their neighbors are because they want to make sure they know who they can trust, right?
Yeah.
So, I think, you know, that's my thought. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am.
Well, no, I think you're right. There is a shock that's coming. I see. It's all the build, right? It's all to get to this point. Um, the world is shut down. The world is shut down, right? Nobody can move from their homes. This is not a normal 4-year election. This is not a normal time, and something is building, right? And I would just say, "We Are With You" is coming across the TV on programs. I mean, hello, wake up! This is like a little slight tap, 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 tap. Actually, there's some more of those pictures coming into the Telegram group, and we can see that this is happening. And is it by the time we hit the 11th, is this the reveal day? Is this really when Trump comes up and does the emergency broadcast system and expels all the existing reporters that have been part of the bad system? And he says this is the situation, and starts letting everyone know. I really hope this is the beginning of the reveal of what's going to happen on the 10th, if it is the 10th. I think it doesn't make any other sense than to reveal everything at this point, right? Yeah, I understand keeping things subdued to a certain point, because there are going to be people that are flipping out. The whole idea of Trump derangement syndrome is going to magnify, right, to psychotic levels, because they won't be able to take all of their heroes of their life to show that they've been on the wrong path, right? They're going to have a hard time dealing with it, and they're already been triggered to act in violent ways, right? That's their programming, to act in violence. So if nobody is outdoors, this period of adjustment can take place. Maybe that's the reason to extend it to the end of the month, so people can get it right, and get the information, see what's been going on, and then they can self-analyze. So because this is not going to be easy.
Well, I think about this a lot now. If you look at a cow, right? Now, a cow ruminates, right? They have 4 stomachs, and they chew their cud, right? They swallow it. It goes down to one stomach. They bring it back up. They chew it again. It goes back down to another stomach, right? And they do this over and over again. What they do is they're extracting the nutrients from the food they already ate. So if you look at that principle, right, of just ruminating on something, right, or meditating on something, or considering something deeply, I think that what this does is one of the most valuable aspects of this, right, is the mainstream media. It's very easy to put out a report, right, that you drop, and people are going to get 5 minutes of news every day, right, and you drop that, and no one questions it. They just accept it as fact. But when people are glued to what's going on because they want to know it, and it's kind of like when you have a major snowstorm or something, everybody's watching to track the storm, right? So it's the same kind of thing where people are glued to their television, really probably examining news on a whole new level, considering things completely differently, and really asking someone, what is happening right now? How is it that because, and I'll tell you, I'm looking for honest doctors, I'm looking for honest EMT workers, right, who are willing to step up and be honest about what's going on. Because I know already, I've had someone come to me and tell me, like, look, this is what's really happening. And they're saying, like the freezers, right? Like, they have freezers because the funeral homes are scared. Well, if everybody's scared, you can't stay scared, right? Nothing happens when you're scared, right? You're paralyzed with fear. Well, we got to get beyond being paralyzed with fear, right? Walking around with masks, that we know for a fact anybody could have done half an ounce of research and shown that you have to, Water's World talks about this, how you have to be in the same room with somebody for extended period of time for 15 minutes, right?
Right.
And it has to be, from direct touch that you're contracting this, right? And I don't even think that's true. But even if it is, right? what we do know is fear, stress, worry. These things have major impacts on your health, right? So you could make yourself toxic because you're so worried. I mean, some of the women out on Long Island they're terrified,
Yep.
right? So now, if you think about it, it's like some people get a chance to really ruminate on this issue, right? Really consider what is happening. Really get the nutrients out of it, right? Like, what are you getting out of this experience? Because you have this amazing opportunity to be home with your kids. You know, you can't go anywhere. It's not the most comfortable. It's not the best. But you know what? Why can't it be?
Right.
Why can't it be an amazing opportunity when the world changed?
Yeah.
Now, I'll say this too. Now, Shiley always has listen to this, Magenta Pixie, right? Now, Magenta Pixie, she speaks to the Council of Nine, right? And she gives these reports, and she's like their conduit, right? And I can't even remember exactly what it's spoken about because every time I listen to her, she knocks me out, right? But I know that part of this is that we have these 10 or 12 days, right, that we're in. And Thomas even mentioned it, right? Now, Thomas mentioned it, and the Pixie, I mean, they couldn't be more polar opposite, right? So, and he mentioned that, like, that we're in this time of creation, right, of instantaneous manifestation, where we can bring things into our reality right now that we want to exist.
Yeah.
Now, let's just say, even if you don't believe in that, which is fine, like I'm not trying to impose that on anybody, right? But you just think of what the amazing benefits would be if you had all this extra time where you're forced to get to know your kids, or you're allowed to get to know your kids, or you're able to sit and think for a little while and really consider what's going on, right? And really and then ask yourself, a lot of people probably going, like, I don't even know if other jobs to go back to, they might be thinking, right? Well, why not think, what would I want to do, right? And start to create and allow yourself to create a new world from this 0 point, right? This 0 point of creation, right? The center of the cross, where all light extends out from. And from that we can build anything. And that collective understanding, right, can completely revolutionize everything. Now, what also might happen is as we're ruminating on these, very, amazing things, we also might realize we have some issues we have to deal with, right? There's some negative feelings about people or ourselves. And for that, I highly recommend research on Ho'oponopono, right? Very, to summarize it, the idea is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you.
You're beautiful.
Right, those 4 simple phrases, right? And just by putting your energy, your thoughts into that idea, when you think about these negative situations that may occur as you are ruminating on your own life, because inevitably people are suffering from depression right now. When that happens, go through that Ho'oponopono. Go through that in your mind and your heart. Allow yourself to just ask yourself, like, forgive yourself. Tell yourself, I'm sorry. I love you for whatever it is. Please forgive me. I love you and thank you. Right? And it's such an amazing, powerful thing that can happen. Now, if you took everybody on this call and they got one other person to do the exact same thing, just go and do that practice and think about any one issue in your life. I guarantee all of us have one. Not just an issue, an event, a person, whatever. And just, I'm sorry, I love you. Or, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. It's so simple.
Well, the last one is you're beautiful.
Last one is you're beautiful?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean from my lines?
Yeah, because it's the same thing, right? Except you ended with you're beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's exactly the same. But
well, okay, well. Yeah, there's a thread there you can pull on. All right.
But we did, I forget what it was, a year ago, or maybe more. I put out this, this challenge, to try to get people to just, instead of responding to all the negative tweets, right, with, your version of gotcha, I got him, right, I slammed him, right, and we think we're showing somebody, we're giving them the what for, right, instead of doing that, just, hey, thank you. Thank you for making it so easy to stand out. I'm sorry if I offended you. Please forgive me. I love you for the work you do. Imagine applying that principle. Imagine Twitter and Facebook and all these different social media platforms erupting with Ho'oponopono instead of, the latest hate blog of why these people are animals, which does absolutely nothing but collectively encourage a hateful vibration where we're all, just feel like we're victims. What if we took everything back just by collectively forgiving ourselves for, being in the situation, taking responsibility for the world that we live in instead of blaming somebody else, forgiving ourselves for it, reminding ourselves that we're worth loving and that we love ourselves and our kids and everybody around us that we want to share that feeling with. Not generically either, because I'm not somebody to tell people I love them if I don't. And then be grateful. What an amazing shift in energy that would be.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to be experiencing this anyway. Because there's going to be a lot of people that are, that have, reconnected. Oh, that's interesting. I'm sorry. Well, that's a flying saucer, an identified flying object, rather.
That's awesome.
It's just
Makes
like
sense. We are with you.
it's got it's got an interesting light. So, like this Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's just stationary. I don't know how can I can't show that.
They're probably broadcasting our show.
It could be. Yeah. Wow. Well, I can try. I don't think it's going to pick it up. It's too far away. So it's kind of halfway between here and Manila. I don't know if I can.
That's cool.
I'll try and do this. I caught one not so long ago. But this is big. This is really big.
Wow, cool.
Now,
can you show us?
I'm trying. My camera does not. It's too far away. It can't focus in on it. No, I can't show it to you. It's looking very thin, but it's long, black. But I can see there's like a colors. It's kind of there's kind of some general cloudiness. It's a kind of more of a light haze out today. So, but it's got like these lights that are going across, like this. We don't have blimps, I guess, but it's flat. It's flat. It's actually getting wider on the left-hand side, right? And it kind of looks like it has a ripple. It almost would seem as though it would be morphing of sorts. So strange.
Wow, that's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah.
I got to get my wife's phone has a better camera on it. Let's see if I can take a picture of this.
I have a real camera that I have a very, very nice camera that I have not used in years. It's years, dude.
Yeah. Wow. Well, maybe this is a good time to break. We're already an hour and 37 minutes in, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll go see if I can, get some shots of this. All right, everyone.
Have a great night, Dan. Everybody.
All right. Bye,
Have a good
Gunner.
night.